I've talked a lot about the roughness of my childhood, but I've always tried to do so in an instructive manner. I use the hard lessons I learned in life to teach others so they perhaps can have an easier time in theirs. I don't claim to be an expert on self development. I don't even claim that my way is the best way or is even remotely the correct way to handle the residual effects of child abuse, neglect, and the general instability that comes from growing up in a chaotic environment. All I try to do is show what has worked for me, talk about the mistakes I've made, and share insights and observations I've made as I continue to grow in this life. Now, like 2.5 years ago at my son's baby shower, I was genuinely shocked by all the friends and family who took time out of their Sunday afternoon to bring gifts and show loves. And I don't remember if I wrote about this in my newsletter, but it really stuck with me for a long time because it was one of those moments that contradicted everything I had come to believe about myself, mainly being that my friends saw me as a burden and that people didn't really like me. And I know this might sound strange coming from me, but it's always been a lingering thought in my mind. Like I can see the evidence in my face that people care about me, that my friends care about me, that they invite me to places, that they spend time around me. But I didn't have like a great relationship at all with my family, and in fact, I don't even really consider by blood they're my family, of course, but it's my friends that I think of as family more than anything because they're the people who were there for me when I was growing up. Um, but despite all that, I continued to have a hard time accepting that I'm not just a disposable, replaceable person. Now, I've learned to channel this insecurity into trying to make myself worthwhile and impressive and doing everything I could to, kind of prove not just to the world, but to myself that I'm worth a damn. It's the same thing it's the same drive that led me into boxing. It's the same drive that led me to study physics of all things. It's even the same drive that helped me get sober. Interestingly enough, though, it's that same drive that led me to become a heavy drinker and ultimately struggle with alcoholism. Because, trying to earn attention and respect has really driven like every decision I've made, both positive and negative. I mean, hell, even this YouTube channel is really just another kind of way to validate myself. And then that's cool, Um, a lot of people are going to look down on that, but if that's your reason for putting out content and you're using it to do something constructive in the world, there's nothing wrong with that. You just got to be aware of it. You also got to remember something though, that attention and respect are not the same thing. And you only learn that the hard way. In this respect, my hard lesson was when I was able to finally look around and understand all the damage that I had done to my life from drinking and the strain that I put on the relationships, those relationships that I consider so important. Many of those people that showed up at my son's baby shower that really moved me to tears. I put a lot of those relationships in danger with my drinking. And it was all because I was trying to chase attention and I didn't believe that they respected and loved me for me. Everyone likes to party with you, but when nobody likes to party, or rather, everyone is going to party with you. But when it comes time to do something that requires people to put their reputation and their energy and time on the line, no one's going to want to spend time with you. I'll never forget. It was a very clear day when this hit me. I wasn't getting invited to like family functions. When I say family functions, I'm talking about my friends and their family functions. Because I had been getting invited, all this time coming up through high school. They really like were my family that raised me. And then I got to this point as an adult steeped in alcoholism. They were like, just make sure he doesn't come around. Now, no one ever actually said that, but I saw the pictures and I heard the stories. I knew I wasn't being invited. It wasn't until I became a respectable guy, not drinking, settling myself down, and people were like, okay, this guy might be about something. Let's bring him back around. And that's the prerogative. They should do that because I was a danger to myself. I was chasing attention. Even just telling this story makes me tear up just a little bit. And it's the allergies. I'm not just crying for the sake of crying or anything like that. Show man tears. No, but all seriousness. Those events, those are hard lessons that really stick with you because you start to feel a type of aloneness. when you're just chasing attention. And some people don't realize it until the music stops and there's no more chairs to sit in. But some of us, we come to that realization early, and whether we do something about it or not is a completely different story. The way I describe this type of loneliness, it's hard to imagine if you've never experienced it, but I'm going to do my best here. When people like you, but they don't respect you or really want to connect or invest in you, it's like being in a room full of people who are only there because you're the entertainment. You're alone on stage and you feel like you have pressure to put on a great performance for everyone. Otherwise, they're gonna leave. They're gonna boo you. They're gonna start throwing fruit or something at the stage, and you're gonna ultimately feel rejected. So to avoid being alone, to avoid having the audience leave, you're gonna do whatever it takes to hold their attention, even if it's self-destructive. On the other hand, when you feel respected, when you feel connected, you attract a smaller audience. You only have so much energy to go around, right? So much time to go around. So you have a smaller audience. But those people that are watching you, they're not really there for the show. I mean, you might be putting on a show, but they're not there for the show. They're there for you no matter how well you perform. Good or bad, those people love you, not what you do. Even if you fall flat on your face and you bomb in a performance, their feelings towards you not only remain unchanged, but they actually become stronger because there is an unfakeable honesty in imperfection. And the only way you can be imperfect and unjudged is in the presence of true love. That might sound kind of woo-woo, I know, but I remember when I was an amateur fighter, uh, I had friends that never showed up to see me fight. And I didn't even think anything about it then, right? But reflecting on it, that had nothing to do with how good of friends they were of mine. They just weren't in for the fighting. They were there to support me, and if I lost, and celebrate me if I won. But it didn't affect our overall friendship. And on the other hand, I had a lot of people when I was fighting pro. I had a lot of people, even though I only got like big city, recognition. I was never like this big international guy. I had a lot of people who wanted to always party, always wanted to kick it. And the minute I got sober and the minute I stopped fighting, I haven't heard from many of them. Many of them have outright just unfriended me in the real sense of the word, not on some Facebook BS. But yeah, that's what it's like. And I thought about this a little more this weekend. It was Easter weekend, so anybody who had a happy Easter. And if you don't celebrate Easter, I hope you had a great weekend either way. Up here in the Northeast in Pittsburgh, where I'm at, it was a beautiful, almost unseasonably warm, but beautiful. And my sister-in-law was here, and we had anticipated my sister joining us, but at the last minute, she told me she was too tired after work. But I didn't let her off the hook that easy. I got in my car, drove across town to pick her up, and then drove her back home afterwards. My sister didn't have a car, and she lives easily 30 miles away. But it made me think about this because even though it was a lot of time, I think it was worth it because my sister has a similar perspective on relationships that I did because she grew up in the same environment, same house, same abuse, same craziness. And in many ways, she had it worse because I ended up separating myself from my home when I was like 14, effectively being emancipated. And by the time I was 16, I was never home unless I absolutely had no choice. And there was always a choice. So I was never home. But my sister, she ended up staying home and she had a bit of a codependent relationship with my mom. My sister was much closer to my mom. And when my mom died, I think even though the relationship, in my opinion, was kind of dysfunctional, my sister lost the one person she probably felt the most connection with, the closest to like that true, I'm not going to judge you no matter how you do type of relationship. Now, my sister and I have gotten closer over the years, especially since my mom's death. But I always want to make sure my sister feels like she always has a place in my home. And if that means going to drive and pick her up and literally drag her out the house so she can experience the love, that's what I got to do. And, I want her to look forward to just being around as I try and build this life. for my son, where he won't ever have to feel like he doesn't matter to the people who love him. I want him to have a completely different upbringing than I did. And that starts with recognizing the behavior in myself and in the people I have the power to affect, like my sister. I always tell people to reach out to their friends just to see how they're doing, but more than that, nurture the relationships in your life in little ways, like sending memes and random text. Several years I've almost dropped out of the fantasy football league, and I don't even watch football that much anymore, but I stick in it because it's a way for the friends to stay close and BS, even though we're scattered across the country now. Big gestures of time and attention, and they can be undermined and lose their impact no matter how grandiose, if there isn't this kind of constant low-level maintenance for our relationships and friendships. Without that low-level maintenance, it's real easy for a person to think they don't matter that much. After all, if they did, you'd talk to them more, right? So then it gets easier for them to blow off social gatherings and invitations and turn down meetups for lunch. And then it gets easier for them to not communicate because a precedent has been set. And reaching out to you now feels even more awkward because you haven't talked in a while. And I'm not saying that all relationships are worth making that type of effort. There are some people you definitely want to keep at bay, but any relationships in your life worth having require time and attention, even if it's just an occasional sharing of memes and a text. And I found that when you feel like you're a burden to people, that people only want to have a relationship with you because you have something to offer, or you're the coolest guy to drink with, even though I'm 40, and if you're in my age range, that's definitely crazy. You should probably do something about that. But when you feel like people only want to be around you because you have something to offer and you got to put on a performative face and you don't feel like loved and accepted for, just who you are, assuming you're a decent human being, then you're less likely to do the little work of maintaining human connection. And before you know it, you feel emotionally overwhelmed and surprised when people show up to your baby shower. Or you're at a loss for words when your friends show up to your mother's funeral because you didn't tell them, but your wife did because she knows you have trouble with this type of thing. That's why it's really important to get with somebody who is really just an emotionally developed person and is committed to emotionally developing themselves. Never forget that people are the most important thing. There's a lot of research out there that shows all aspects of your life improve when you have strong, positive relationships. And people who've been watching my videos for a while, that normally I'd cite them and throw the links in the description, but that's really beyond the scope of today's message. I just want everyone to know that if you feel alone and worthless, that's not an unusual feeling, and it can happen to anyone for any reason, but you don't have to let it define how you interact with people. Remember, many of the experiences you had in childhood and in your formative years, no matter how terrible they were, they aren't your fault, but they are your responsibility as an adult to make sure that they don't ruin the life you have or the life of anyone else you get involved with. I write about all of this and more in my new book, Hard Lessons from the Hurt Business. It comes out on August 5th. You can pre-order at the link in the description. It's about my childhood that made me feel like I had to earn love, and how it took me into the boxing ring and got me into drinking and almost ruined everything when it wasn't enough. And it'll never be enough. You can never fill that hole with BS. If this message resonated with you, you can download the first chapter for free at that same link in the pinned comment and see what all of this is about. And if this message speaks to you, consider pre-ordering. It's the realest thing I've ever written. This is one of the rawest videos I've ever made, more or less unprepared. And I think it'll meet you wherever you are and help you develop a relationship with yourself if you don't think you are worthwhile. And you'll also learn some cool stuff about boxing and the hood. And just remember, man, I make these videos because some lessons are hard, but the ones that matter most are definitely hard. And if you can get any type of help along the way, take it, because ain't no reason to let somebody else do it hard because you had to. On that note, I'll see you in the next video. Oh, and YouTube thinks this video is probably one you want to check out.